Hello and welcome back. If you like this video, please like, subscribe, and share. Today we're going to be talking about Matthew's Gospel, chapter 23. I think it's one of the most hateful, it's probably the most hateful chapter in the entire New Testament. When you read Matthew's Gospel, as you go along, you kind of find out that the author doesn't like the Jews, and he has the Jews following Jesus around, asking him questions and trying to trick them, and Jesus always answering them angrily or with some sort of riddle. Or anyways, in Matthew chapter 23, it starts off with Jesus saying to listen to the Pharisees and practice and observe everything they tell you. Okay, so follow the leaders. He's telling you to follow the Torah. And he's saying the Jews don't follow it. They preach it, but they don't practice it. And then later on in chapter 12, the Pharisees are plotting how they can kill Jesus. They're trying to kill him. They follow him around. They're asking him questions. He repeats that they're a bunch of vipers, a brood of vipers. He calls them snakes. He calls them hypocrites. He says they're blind guides. They're full of hypocrisy and wickedness. And he asked them, how are you going to escape the sentence of hell? Now, later on in John's Gospel, in chapter 8, verse 44, Jesus tells them that you belong to your father, the devil. Okay, God's chosen people. Now, if you're not sure who's right, the Christians or the Jews, I'm going to give you another clue here, and you can look this up for yourself. Jesus is lying or misquoting the scriptures. He's getting it wrong, and I'm going to show you where right here. In Matthew chapter 23, verse 35, Jesus makes a big mistake here. He says, upon you will come all the righteous blood shed on earth, from the blood of righteous Abel to the blood of Zechariah, son of Berechiah, whom you murdered between the temple and the altar. Now, some people, if they're fact-checking this, they might just go back to the book of Zechariah and open it up to the first chapter, the very first verse there, where it says, Zechariah, the son of Berechiah. So what am I talking about? Well, Jesus is talking about the wrong prophet. The prophet he's talking about was about 300 years earlier. If you go to the second book of Chronicles, you'll find this right there in 2 Chronicles chapter 24, verse 21. When it tells us the king, they had him stoned. King Joash had him stoned in the courtyard between the temple and the altar. So this is a completely different person. This is the Zechariah, son of Jehoiada, the priest. So Jesus gets it wrong again. So time and time again, we have the author of Matthew putting words in Jesus' mouth. We have him and reading from the scriptures, and he's misquoting it. And here's another big mistake. So how do you justify these things and just say, oh, it's the message that matters? It's a bunch of contradictions, fairy tales, and nonsense. Okay, in order to trick you away from God. It's a trick to see if the Jews are paying attention. Okay, anybody that read the Bible and understands it knows that this is just there to say, hey, look, we're a false religion. It's the easiest religion to prove false. I think the very last couple verses there are why the missionaries seem to be so fervent on going after the Jews and trying to convert them to Christianity, because in chapter 23, verse 39, Jesus says, I tell you that you will not see me again until you say, blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord. So Jesus isn't going to come back unless the Jews accept him. Nonsense. The whole purpose of Matthew's gospel is to turn you against the Jews. I can't think of another religion that is based on disparaging another established religion, especially Judaism, which 1 out of every 2 people on the planet believe the Torah is the inspired word of God, and that he appeared to all the Israelites at Mount Sinai. And you don't see the Christians saying bad things about Hindus or Buddhists or any other religion. Their religion is based on disparaging Judaism. There is no such thing as Judeo-Christian values. I guarantee you that a Jew didn't come up with that term.